Can you help Marijuana Nation grow today by telling a friend about this podcast? Can you think of one person in your life who would appreciate being kept up to date on the latest developments in the world of legal marijuana? If so, send them an email, give them a call, mail them a card, or tap out a Morse code message to them and tell them where to find this podcast. You can direct them to mjtodaydaily.com or have them just search iTunes for the term marijuana. And as of last week, you can now find Marijuana Today Daily on YouTube with our audio-only videos. Just search YouTube for Marijuana Today Daily. There's so many ways to share this podcast. Just pick one today and use it. Thanks to everyone who's helped spread the good word. Onward and upwards. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, May 10th, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 243 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is a wonky financial one with an enormous number attached to it. 86,250,138 Canadian dollars, or the equivalent of $63,004,595 US. That is the size of the fundraising round just announced closed by licensed Canadian medical marijuana firm Aphria, who successfully sold more than 13 million shares at a price of $6.50 Canadian per share. The company said it will use half of the proceeds of the round to fund a large planned expansion of their production capacity, with 40% being set aside for future investments and the remaining 10% going to fund ongoing operations. As Alan Brockstein over at New Cannabis Ventures is headlining this one, the deal is the largest single round of fundraising by any company in the legal marijuana industry in both Canada and the world. If this doesn't make American entrepreneurs start to pay a lot of attention to what's going on north of the border, I don't know what will. Big things are brewing up in Canada. Congratulations are in order for everyone in Georgia who helped push through a recent piece of legislation that was approved by Governor Nathan Deal yesterday. The proposed medical marijuana bill was shepherded through the state legislature by State Representative Alan Peake, who I recently reported on for his work in actually distributing cannabis oil for free to medical families in need. Representative Peake's bill adds 6 new conditions to the state's list of qualifying conditions, which now includes autism, AIDS, Tourette's, Alzheimer's, peripheral neuropathy, and a condition called epidermolysis bullosa that affects the connective tissues and joints. Our final top story of the day swings us down to Florida, where State Senate President Joe Negrin told reporters on Monday that he was open to the idea of calling a special legislative session so that state lawmakers could finish up work on passing a medical marijuana bill. Regular listeners should be well familiar now with the troubles Florida's had in implementing the expansion of their medical marijuana system voted in by a large majority of voters in November, with the bill passing process breaking down in the final days of the regular legislative session when it came time for the state Senate and House to agree on a bill. With the number of voices chiming in demanding a special session to settle the medical marijuana issue growing by the day, this is a story we'll be watching. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz on headlines, let's quickly talk about our annual listener survey, which we are so close to being done with. You know that relief that you feel when your local public radio station wraps up their big annual funding drive? The lifting of the weight that comes with not being bombarded with the same repeated messages to support your local radio station by calling 1-800-555-4242. That's 1-800-555-4242. That same emotional release can be had here just as soon as a few more of you fill out our annual listener survey. I can stop mentioning mjtodaydaily.com/survey and can get back to pitching cool industry products and services. Help me, help you, help me by opening up mjtodaydaily.com/survey and spend the 2 or 3 minutes it takes to fill out our annual listener survey. That's mjtodaydaily.com/survey. All right, time for the Blitz. Canadian licensed medical marijuana provider Harvest One Cannabis just announced that it has, through a wholly owned Swiss subsidiary, completed its first shipment of CBD capsules to a distribution partner in Australia, where the medical marijuana will be sold to qualified patients. This marks one of the first importations of medical marijuana into Australia, which is slowly but surely expanding its medical marijuana program. In New York State, a bill sponsored by State Senator Dianne Savino to add PTSD to their list of medical marijuana qualifying conditions has advanced out of the Senate Health Committee and is on its way to the Senate at large for a vote. We'll follow along as it progresses. American University's WAMU is reporting that the Washington, D.C. Department of Health is working to expand the pool of healthcare professionals able to recommend medical marijuana in the nation's capital. Right now, just doctors are able to recommend medical marijuana in Washington, D.C., but by later this summer, the list of recommending agents will include physician's assistants, naturopaths, dentists, and nurse practitioners. This is a good story to swing over for the full read. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Michigan Live is a good story up about a debate in the college town of Ann Arbor about how the state's newly expanded medical marijuana program will fit into things. The state's new program provides 5 levels of marijuana business licensing: cultivation, processing, transportation, dispensing, and testing, and the Ann Arbor city government is working through the question of how much or how little room it wants to give industry players. This is a local story, but with Michigan having one of the largest pools of registered medical marijuana patients in the nation, it's one that is playing out all over the state and, in some regards, all over the country. In a healthy bit of industry news, marijuana consulting company Medicine Man Technologies just announced that it is acquiring Colorado-based Denver Consulting Group in an all-stock deal worth $3.5 million. Yesterday, state Senate lawmakers in Nevada advanced a legal marijuana tax bill out of committee to be sent on for a vote by the state Senate at large. The proposed measure was passed on a strict party line vote out of the Senate Revenue and Economic Development Committee, with Democrats voting in favor against Republican opposition. The bill would impose a 12% sales tax on both adult use and medical marijuana, as well as a 15% tax on medical marijuana cultivators, the same plan for adult use growers. The plan competes with another tax proposal favored by Governor Brian Sandoval, so we'll see how this plays out in the final days of legislative wrangling. And finally for today, Leafly has an interesting piece up highlighting a new program in California that seeks to elevate the practice of bud tending, with a new certification being offered that requires thousands of hours of training and specialized education. The new program is being offered through the California Department of Industrial Relations Apprenticeship Council and puts successful graduates on a similar level as a journeyman pharmacy technician. This is another good one to click over for the full read. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. What's green, fuzzy, and would kill you if it fell out of a tree and landed on your head? A pool table. Thanks to our sponsor, our annual listener survey, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. Today's your day. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.